So we need to answer the question, was Jesus a Palestinian or was Jesus Jewish? Or was Jesus a New Yorker? Was Jesus in New York? Was Jesus in New York? Fidel Castro was in New York. So what does that mean? I'm not for sure. But Jesus was a Jew, right? Jesus was Jewish. Muslims believe that Jesus Christ is a prophet. While Jesus was a Jew, there's Jewish folks who don't like Jesus because he overthrew Judaism. And there's Christians. There's Christians who don't like Jewish folks too. Notably, Hitler. Hitler was a devout Christian, right? He was a Catholic, actually. He got the sanction of the Catholic Church, and then they killed a whole bunch of Jewish folks, plus they had a bunch of Roma, and they also had the disabled, the blacks, the browns. They also had killed a bunch of trade unionists and communists and socialists. So while Christianity has its origins in Judaism because Jesus was crucified by both Pontius Pilate and a crowd of Jewish folks, this created a schism. Christians created their own branch of religion and they separated from Judaism. The Old Testament is Judaism, the New Testament Christianity, to oversimplify things. Now, Christians have massacred Jews, right? Hitler, like I just mentioned, but also in Worms, Germany. If you look at history, it actually just happens over and over and over again. To Judaism, Jesus is a rebel, right? He's a mutineer, a turncoat. That damn Jesus Christ, he's a Benedict Arnold. He said that we weren't doing good. He insulted the Sadducees. He insulted the Pharisees. If they even believe in him at all. I'm not for sure if Jesus Christ was a historical figure. I go back and forth. I didn't like a lot of things about Jesus, but after criticizing him a whole bunch, I've come back to like a lot of what Jesus Christ, the character in the Bible, represents. He represents a lot of revolutionary ideas, a lot of revolutionary thoughts. So for me, it doesn't matter if he's a historical figure or not. Woe to you Pharisees. Woe to you Pharisees. For you goddamn sons of bitches. You want to tithe mint and you want to tithe cumin and dill, but you forget about the important things. Faith, mercy, and just us. Justice. Just us. Justice for just us. The prisoner, he wanted to free. So Jesus was about freedom. Jesus was about justice. He says, turn the other cheek, love thy enemy. He says, why should you love your enemy? Because the sun sets on everybody. It sets on the good and the bad alike. You're not supposed to have hatred in your heart. You're not supposed to covet thy neighbor's goods, and you're not supposed to have a hatred in your heart. If you lust for a woman in your heart, you've already committed adultery. And if you have hatred in your heart, then you've already committed a sin. That's revolutionary. That is revolutionary. Holy shit. He says even the damn pagans can love their people that love them. Oh, you love somebody who loves you back? Ooh, wow, how fucking exciting. But to love an enemy, to love a hater, to love a piece of shit, no good, fucking criminal, polished, terrorist, fucking bitch ass, that takes a little fortitude. That takes a little gumption, does it not? So I don't know if Jesus was a historical figure, but there is evidence that he was. You got the tomb of Jesus, right? You got the Bible, that's one piece of evidence. You got the Quran, they mention him in the Quran. So there's some ancient witnesses. You got the tomb of Jesus. I definitely believe that there was a King David. I believe that there was a King Herod and a Pontius Pilate and the Roman Emperor Tiberius. I believe the Roman officials. So did they just put the character around all these historical figures? I don't know. Moses and Abraham, they're bullshit. Fucking Abraham, Moses, parted the Red Sea, fucking 9 plagues, turn a staff into a snake. What? He turned the entire sea into blood. That was pretty remarkable. He made it rain grasshoppers. That was pretty incredible. He was talking to a burning bush. What are you trying to tell me, burning bush? Moses is bullshit. Abraham is bullshit. The Easter Bunny is bullshit. And Santa Claus is bullshit. The Tooth Fairy? I go back and forth on the tooth fairy. So a Native American who was born in Montana 14,000 years ago is called a Native American. But America wasn't created until, what, 1776? Unless you go by the Constitution, then 1787. That's way after 14,000 years ago. So why would we call a Native American a Native American? That makes no sense. They would be a native Turtle Island, right? That's a Turtle Islander. Because they called the Americas Turtle Island. So if you consider today's geopolitical situation, Jesus is a Palestinian. Bethlehem is in the West Bank. And since Bethlehem is in the West Bank, that makes Jesus a native Palestinian. And that's exciting. That means Jesus is both a Jew and a Palestinian. Jesus is Jewish and he's Palestinian. This is the making of a peace deal right here. Who's going to solve the Israeli-Palestine crisis? The Christians are, or the atheist. But somebody who is not one or the other, right? You need a non-biased third-party arbitrator. You need a mediator, not somebody who's in the pockets of one or the other. I got a little statue of baby Jesus right here. And this says that baby Jesus was Caucasian. But then on the back of it, it says it's made in China. So what the fuck is going on? Like, what the fuck is going on? Huh? Now, while Jesus was Jewish, yes, that's absolutely true. And according to the First Amendment, you got a right to your religion. You got the right to express your religion. You could be Muslim. You could be a Buddhist. You could be Jewish. You could be a Christian. You can even be a Zoroastrian. Somebody said you can't be an atheist because that's freedom from religion. No, you got freedom to religion, but not away from religion. Get the fuck out of here. You could be an atheist or agnostic as well. So that's exciting. You can't establish any religion in our governments. That's really smart because we have a sense of toleration, right? You can express your religion how you want to. You can't commit crimes, okay? No, that's not your religion to go around. No. You can't commit crimes and say, hide behind freedom of religion. So while Jesus was Jewish, he called himself a Judean. So he was a Jew, but he's not an Israeli. He was never a person of Israel. He was never a citizen of Israel. He would not have called himself an Israeli. So he wouldn't have called himself a Palestinian, but he also wouldn't have called himself an Israeli either. He would have called himself a Judean. He would have said that he was part of the Jewish religion. Was he Caucasian? No. He was definitely not Caucasian. This is the Middle East. Have you been to the Middle East? The Middle East is mostly brown people, right? So at the very most, Jesus was black, right? Didn't he have his hair was made of wool? And at the very least, he's brown. So we know Jesus is not Caucasian. That's definite. And we also know that he was a native Palestinian and that he was Jewish. He was a Judean Jew. That's exciting, isn't it? We got a black Palestinian Judean Jew. And he's communist. He says that you should love thy neighbor and you should feed the world. Right? He created all the bread for the multitude. There was no bread and then poof, now everybody had bread. They didn't have any wine and then poof, now everybody's got wine. Bread and wine for everybody. You think you've been for housing too? What would Jesus do? Well, if you're going to love your fucking enemy, why wouldn't you love your friends? Of course he would be for housing for everybody. Everybody has a right to life, liberty, and property, says the America's founding documents. What would Jesus do? Well, he wouldn't have been a Zionist. That's for goddamn sure. Jesus was never an Israeli. He would never have called himself an Israeli. Nor a Palestinian. He wouldn't have called himself a Palestinian, nor would he have called himself a Zionist. But he was born in Bethlehem. Bethlehem is in Palestine today. Jesus warned everybody, you better repent, for the kingdom of heaven was coming soon. Jesus also said, let the dead bury the dead. Let the dead bury the dead. So those people who bury other people are dead as well? That Jesus is cold-blooded. What are you going to do, Jesus? Just leave a bunch of corpses on the street? Another commonality, they all believe in the golden rule. You're supposed to treat others the way you want to be treated. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they're all known as the Abrahamic religions. That means they all came from that disgusting, perverted, child-killing piece of shit, Abraham. Fuck Abraham. Fuck Abraham. Fuck that piece of shit. Now, Jesus was both a Jew and a Palestinian. Never an Israeli, never a Zionist. He was Judean. Now we have a movie coming out. Netflix has got a movie coming out December 6, 2024. Coming to a Netflix near you. It's a biblical epic. And you got Noah Cohen in the lead role. You got Ido Taco as Joseph and Ori Perfeffer. Ori Perfeffer as Joachim, Mary's father. Joachim? That don't sound right to me. So Mary was born from Joachim, and then Mary gave birth to Jesus, but she didn't have sex with Joseph. It was God that had sex with her. But did God get consent? Nah, God wouldn't have raped Mary, would he? This great spirit of ultimate goodness would not have raped Mary. I'll just put it that way. Now God, on the other hand, or Allah, or Yeshua, or Jehovah, I don't know about that damn Jehovah, Yeshua, Allah, God fucking. A new biblical epic. So you got this movie coming out called Mary, December 6th, hitting the theater near you. So this is, I would be the one who would want to boycott it, but I also would be curious and I'd probably end up watching it. I watched the fucking trailer. It's got dramatic music. You got that one fucking guy, Hannibal Lecter. The guy that played Hannibal Lecter is Anthony Hopkins is in there. He was in Meet Joe Black. So you got all this dramatic music in Mary. You got a hero facing a clearly defined villain. King Herod. That motherfucker's just doing a massacre of the innocents. Just like in Iraq. 1 million killed. A massacre of the innocents. I used to think Jesus wasn't real because that's the same shit that happened in Moses. It's like, can't you be original, Matthew? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you're just taking a literary device. You're taking the same plot from Moses. What kind of sick fuck? You think Pharaoh's going to kill a bunch of innocent kids and then King Herod's going to kill innocent kids? What kind of sick fucking nation would kill a bunch of innocent kids? What kind of sick fucking nation would spend $50 billion, give the United Nations veto and a bunch of warplanes and bombs and tanks in order to slaughter a bunch of innocents? What kind of sick fucking nation would do something like that? So because of the genocide, now it's like, well shit, maybe Jesus was real. Maybe a King Herod would fucking just be like, wait a second. You said a Messiah was born in Bethlehem? Kill all the kids. A Messiah born in Bethlehem? Well, just kill everybody in Bethlehem. That'll take care of that problem. And then who the fuck told King Herod this shit? They'd just be like saying, well, Charleston, Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia, Charleston, North Carolina. Well, you better watch out in Key West. There's a brand new president who was born in Key West. So you got a fucking nuke Key West now? There's no guarantee that anybody born in any fucking city is ever going to become anything or anybody. There's no guarantee they'll have to win the fucking people over. They'll have to, what are you talking about? A new king is born. That sounds like some bullshit to me. If I'm the king and I'm like hearing some shit, watch out, Sacramento. I heard that that baby's going to grow up to be king and he's going to overthrow you. I have more important shit to worry about than that crazy shit. Yeah, maybe 30 years from fucking now. 30 years from now, am I even going to still be alive? I'm supposed to be worried about something that's going to happen 30 years ago? So you got Ida Taco, and then you got Noah Cohen in the titular role. The titular role. So it's coming to the streaming platform December 6th, and it stars a bunch of Israeli actresses and actors. The executive producer of Mary is Joel Osteen. That lying piece of shit charlatan. Hey, look at me, I'm Joel Osteen. The mother of Christ portrayed by, let's see, so what are we trying to say here? Well, that's kind of fucking crazy. You're not going to put a black face. You're not going to put a brown face. He was born in Bethlehem, so you know that he was a Middle Eastern, so you know he's at least brown, at the most black, if you really want to stir some shit up, instead of, and then why Israelis? That is kind of sick shit. That would be like making a movie about Hitler and then making him, a Jewish person, or making a movie about Jefferson Davis and making him black. It's like you're saying that the people who did the dastardly fucking deeds, they're bombing Palestine right now. They're bombing, I don't know if they bombed Bethlehem, but there's been shit going down in Bethlehem. There was like a kidnapping, and they were shooting a bunch of tear gas. And then there was that big fucking Church of the Nativity in 2002. So you've had standoffs. And you've had shootings and snipings and killings in Bethlehem. So while the genocide in Palestine and the West Bank and Lebanon and Gaza and Bethlehem is happening today, it's actually hit Bethlehem the least, most likely because Christians identify Bethlehem as the birthplace of Jesus. Therefore, you can't lose the Americans. You can't kill a whole bunch of people, and then it's obviously a genocide. You got to finesse your genocide. You got to do it real nice and quiet and slowly. You got to tiptoe with the genocide. I mean, if you just drop a nuclear bomb on a fucking nation, well, shit, that seems like genocidal fucking kind of bullshit. That seems pretty genocidal to me. There's a Messiah in Key West. Fucking nuke them. You're just going to nuke everybody in the Key West, and that's all Americans. Are you going to fucking, there might be a Messiah in Florida. Messiah in Florida, nuke them. Duke Nukem, what are you going to do about Georgia? Why, is there a Messiah there? No, not that I've heard of, but there might be. Nuke them. Duke Nukem. So Anthony Hopkins, we're going to get Hannibal Lecter to play King Herod. So Anthony Hopkins is going to kill all the children to prevent the Messiah's arrival. Director DJ Caruso previously defended casting Israeli actors for the roles. Director DJ Caruso said, "It was important to us that Mary, along with our most primary cast, be selected from Israel to ensure authenticity." There's a problem with that. There's a big-ass problem with that. Israel never existed in all of history until 1948. Before you had Canaan, and then you had goddamn Palestine, and then you had motherfucking Judea, and then it was Palestine again, and then it became Israeli in 1948. So to say, well, we need to be authentic, so we're going to put a bunch of Israeli people in the movie because you're a bunch of fucking propagandists. You're a bunch of fucking propagandeers. So it seems like the film is historically inaccurate because Mary and Joseph and Jesus are actually Palestinian. You had this one post on X, 1.6 million views, that said the director's decision to cast Israeli actors was diabolical. And then that person who posted that tweet, or that X post, called for a boycott of the film. You know what the Quran said in 4:156? The Quran said in 4:156 that Mary, the Virgin Queen, was a fornicator. Nah, she didn't get impregnated by God, Joseph. You know what happened, Joseph. You know what happened, Joseph. The Quran 4:156 said that Jewish folks didn't believe in Mary and Joseph and Jesus. The Quran 4:156 said that it was a great slander to say that Miriam, i.e. Mary of Jesus, was a fornicator. Abbas stated that that's what the Jewish folks had said, so that sounds a little anti-Semitic. Be careful. You can be Jewish. Larry David, Jon Stewart, Sarah Silverman, they're hilarious. They are funny motherfuckers. I don't know any Jewish people in my life. They represent less than 1% of America. So the only Jewish folks that I know, there was one older Jewish woman, Alice, in the San Luis Valley in Colorado. That's the only Jewish person I have met in my 43 years of existence. But Jon Stewart, hilarious. Larry David, hilarious. Sarah, so you can hate Israel, hate the Zionists, without hating the Jews. So the Quran is saying that the Virgin Queen Mary was a fornicator? Fornicator! You like the fuck. It's kind of human nature, isn't it? Therefore, that would make Jesus Christ a bastard, an illegitimate son. What the fuck are you saying right now? Joseph. Did the Virgin Queen Mary lie to Joseph? It wasn't God that put it in her, but she was actually just the guy up the street, just the fucking milkman. Roger the milkman, is that what you're trying to tell me? It was Roger the milkman. And Jesus Christ is a bastard? He's an illegitimate son? Why not just make it Joseph? I've heard that the tomb of Jesus said that Joseph was the father. That seems pretty fucking obvious and right to me. Why are we shitting on poor Joseph? And actually, if you look at, I want to say Matthew, when they go through it, the house of David, because, right, the next king is going to come from the house of David, Joseph is the person that they land on. So if Mary, the Virgin Queen, didn't have sex with Joseph, then that means Jesus didn't come from the house of David. Wasn't the next fucking king supposed to come from the house of David? Isn't that what the whole thing, the Messiah in Bethlehem, was about? So I can't believe that. The Virgin Queen would never lie to Joseph. Women don't lie. Why would Mary lie to Joseph? Just to get another man to help her raise her child? Because the other man ran out on her? It's not like Naomi Judd. Well, besides Naomi Judd, who else would do something so heinous, so diabolical? Diabolical means the devil's work. Mary and Joseph wouldn't have found an inn to stay in, nor a barn to lay baby Jesus in a manger. If they were alive today, and they went to Bethlehem today, well, Bethlehem, it's not leveled, but they would get tear gas shot at them. They would get tear gas shot at them. You would get a bunch of snipers shooting all over the place. They would have to go through checkpoints. They wouldn't have as much food to eat. They didn't get in the inn anyways. But they can't even stay in a barn. And Mary, Joseph is the one who is riding a horse, and pregnant Mary is walking on foot for some reason. So what the fuck is Joel Osteen even doing? Hey, Joel Osteen, why is Joseph on a horse and pregnant Mary walking? Are you trying to say Joseph, not only is he a goddamn fucking stepfather, somebody who's just butting in some other guy's business, taking some other guy's wife and kid. Not only is Joseph taking somebody else's wife and kid, but he's also a selfish, lazy asshole who didn't believe in Mary's virginity. I swear I'm a virgin, but you're pregnant. Well, God put the baby in me. God or Roger the milkman. Come on, Mary. Come on, Virgin Queen Mary, Miriam, the fornicator. You tell the truth. You know that you're part of the Rebel Alliance. Come quick, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're our only hope. According to the Old Testament, the 12 tribes of Israel conquered Canaan, later to be known as Palestine, then Judea, then Palestine, and then Israel. So that's the fucking chronology. What was Palestine? What was Israel originally called? Palestine. What was it called before Palestine? Judea. What was it called before Judea? Palestine. So when Bill Clinton said, well, you know, way back when, it used to be Israel, it was never fucking Israel. And Israel, Jacob, they just changed Jacob's name to Israel. And Israel means wrestles with God, struggles with God. If you believe in God, you don't even believe in Israel. When it comes to Allah, that means submission, or Islam means submission to God. Aren't you supposed to be a slave to God, the great spirit of ultimate goodness? Aren't you supposed to listen to God, believe in God with all your heart and soul? The name Israel means wrestles with God. I can understand that more than fucking submitting to an invisible, there's an invisible man in the clouds? Yeah, right. And Mary didn't have sex. But don't you dare tell me the tooth fairy ain't real. I know the tooth fairy is real. I went to bed, I woke up, there was $1 under my pillow. How do you explain that? How do you explain that? I put my tooth under the pillow, bam, $1 was underneath the fucking pillow. You can't explain that shit. Don't tell me magic. It was a tooth fairy that flew in my window and put $1 underneath my pillow and took the tooth. That's what happened. That's what I was told. Don't tell me don't tell me different. Why would the people who raised me be a bunch of fucking lying assholes, you know? So you got Canaan, you got Palestine, then you got Judea, and then you got Palestine again, and then you got Israel. That was around 1200 BCE. The tribe of Judah settled in the region to the south of Jerusalem. Okay, there you go. First Israel was known as Canaan, then Palestine, then Judea. So when you had Bill Clinton went to Michigan talking about how Israel used to exist 2,000 years ago, no it didn't, Jesus. They never established Israel. You had the land of Judea, which is about Jewish people. So you got the portion, the Romans, Pontius Pilate, said that's where Judea is. That's where a bunch of Jewish folks are. So you have Canaan, then Palestine, then Judea, then Palestine again. So Palestine was before Judea. Palestine was after Judea. And then Canaan was before all of it. So really, where are the Canaanites at? Why don't we give the land back to the original Canaanites? And then it was only known as Israel since 1948. Bethlehem is in Palestine today, which means what? It means Jesus was not Israeli. Jesus was a Jew, and Jesus was Palestinian. That's exciting. That's sublimely riveting. Jesus was both. Jesus was both a Jewish person and a Palestinian. My God, we're going to get peace in the Middle East. If that's not a basis for peace talks, then what is? Jesus Christ is both a Jew. Jesus Christ is a Palestinian too. Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, Jesus Muhammad Christ on a cracker. Jesus Muhammad Christ on a cracker. So Israel invaded Bethlehem, Christmas 2023. They injured many Jesus Christ. Even Nixon knew not to fucking bomb goddamn Vietnam in Christmas. They ransacked the home of a political prisoner. Bethlehem bask in the central place. It holds in the Christian story of Jesus' life. Jesus was born in a stable, and they put him in a manger. That's where you put the hay to feed the damn. They put him in a haystack. They wouldn't even let him stay at the hotel. They had no money. Why don't you go stay on the barn with the donkeys, where the donkeys shit all over the place? Why don't you live in the damn barn? Because you're an animal too. You're nothing to us, Jesus. There was no room at the inn for Joseph and Mary. And then when they're at the animal barn, guess who came visit them? You had the fucking 3 wise men that came visit them. And then you had the shepherds that came visit them. The 3 magi. In Bethlehem, Netanyahu's minions invaded the Al-Masara village, south of the city, before storming and ransacking the home of a political prisoner, Ali Barigia. The brother of the head of the Bethlehem office of the Wall and Colonization Resistance Commission, Hassan Barigia. So Christmas last year, Israel's invading Bethlehem. Military vehicles and bulldozers invaded the Balata refugee camp east of the northern West Bank city of Nablus. Before the soldiers stormed and ransacked the homes, the military bulldozers were destroying the market street, while the soldiers fired many live rounds, and added that the soldiers invaded areas near the old city of Nablus. Saturday evening, this is around the time, December last year, right? It was just last year, not fucking 12 months ago, less than 1 year ago. They abducted a young man, detained dozens, broke into a factory and a development society in Jericho in the occupied West Bank's northeastern part. Jericho, that's the road that the Good Samaritan was walking on. He was walking from Jericho to Jerusalem, or Jerusalem to Jericho. Martin Luther King talked about that. That's where the Good Samaritan came from. So we're bombing Bethlehem, or we're firing tear gas. Let's be precise. We're firing tear gas, and we're harassing and chasing a bunch of students in Bethlehem. And we're kidnapping people in Jericho. The soldiers also abducted 20 Palestinians in the occupied capital, Jerusalem, in the occupied West Bank, and one in Hebron, in the southern part of Jerusalem. Fanatic, illegal, paramilitary Israeli colonizers shot a young Palestinian man in the Mikhamus town northeast of the city. In Bethlehem, the soldiers invaded Husan village west of the city and injured many Palestinians. In Bethlehem, these soldiers invaded the Husan village west of the city. So Bethlehem, just west of Bethlehem. That makes sense to me. It's like Independence. That's Kansas City, where they killed that kid. Israeli soldiers shot 2 Palestinians, including 1 child, with live fire in Tuba City in the occupied West Bank's northeastern region, and abducted 5 Palestinians in the city and in Hebron. Every fucking day there's images of Palestinians being fucking shot and killed. Every fucking day. It's fucking disgusting. It's fucking revolting. Oh yeah, the hostages. You got 9,000 Palestinian hostages. Fuck you with your fucking hostages bullshit. Bunch of hypocritical motherfuckers. They kidnapped one of us, so we killed 200,000 of their children because they kidnapped one of you? How the fuck is that justice? The Old Testament says eye for an eye. One eye for one eye. They kidnapped one of you, then you kidnap one of them. You kidnapped 9,000? I think you've achieved justice by now, you overreacting fucking over-the-top fucking genocidal bloodthirsty maniacs. Fucking shit.